Hey guys, welcome back to another Bricks Daily Live. So, like I told you last week, I'm actually going to be heading out of town tomorrow, and I won't be back until next week. So, I just wanted to try and do a quick video this week for you guys, and see what all we can get through and everything, just in time for Halloween and stuff like that. I got a shot in mind for some trick-or-treating and stuff like that with some of the minifigs, and also playing off of the modulars that I've been using lately in some of the photos. So the other thing I wanted to talk about before we get into that real quick is coming up, I'm actually going to be working on presenting more videos to you guys. These videos, and I think I talked about this briefly before, these videos are going to be shorter. They're not going to be live, and they're going to just focus on specific smaller topics and stuff. So what I need from you guys is, what do you want those topics to be? Do you want us to have some videos on more on editing or adding in special effects and stuff like that using Photoshop or other editing software? Is it more about setup and ideas on how you can use other items in your shots to help do things? Are you looking for cheaper alternatives to be able to do stuff? Just let me know in the comments and everything, and we will see what we can work out and stuff like that. And make sure that you like and subscribe to our channel to be notified when those videos come out. And then the other thing is I wanted to just share something with you that I'm looking at possibly adding in maybe to some future videos and stuff like that, or seeing about how I might be able to work this into some video stuff and everything. So this started off in trying to do something else, and I realized that once I had the assets made, it wasn't too hard to get this going for some other stuff. So I just wanted to share a quick video with you guys, to share that with you, and hopefully see what your guys' opinions is and stuff like that. So this actually started because I was looking at a way to be able to add faces in after I took a photo, with some of the faces that might be a little bit more emotional and stuff like that. But the fun thing is I was able to figure out how to animate this and be able to do it. And this is actually being recorded live on my end, but I'm actually playing it back just as a standalone video for you guys. And it's actually something that could potentially be added in as a live feature. It's just something messing around with and stuff, and wanted to share it with you guys. Thought it might be an interesting thing going down the road. So there you go. So like I was saying in that video, it's just something that I started off messing around with and stuff like that. And one of the things that I can look at trying to do is incorporate it actually into this live video and stuff like that. I'm still looking at seeing how to interject that into some stuff without it being like a weird jarring experience and everything. But also creating this, one of the things that I thought about is, if I'm going to create some of those additional faces and stuff like that, what I might do is make those assets available to you guys. And so let me know if that's stuff that would be interesting to you. And also if there's stuff that might be interesting to you guys to help you with your photos and stuff like that. I thought about adding in some, or providing some like comic book lettering, and like the little thought bubbles and stuff like that that come off of pictures and stuff like that. So let me know. And I just want to make sure, again, that I'm providing the content to you guys that you find helpful. So what I want to do now is go ahead and switch over, and we'll start taking our shot and everything. Okay, so what I have here is I have actually the same modular set, the detective's office that I've been using, but I added in part of another modular right here and stuff because it has like these front steps and everything. I thought it would be good for kind of a trick-or-treating type of scene and everything. So I got a couple figures in here. These are just from different minifig series sets. And when I'm actually taking the photo, it'll be coming more from about this angle here, kind of shooting up and everything. So for this, I'm actually going to be shooting with a 35 millimeter and everything. I think this will get the angle that I want and focus in where I want and everything. So with that, let me get some additional lights turned on here. Now with this shot, I am going to be shooting. Last week we talked about using different aperture settings and everything like that. So I'm going to be using a larger aperture setting on this to try and get a little bit more of it all in focus. And with that, and as a result, I am making sure that my tripod is nice and sturdy with no kind of give or anything like that. Just because I need to get more of it in focus. So I'm going to shoot with a little bit more of an open aperture, but on this I'm not going to do the focus stacking simply because I want the figures at the front here to be the primary focus, and so I want some natural fall off and everything. So let's go in and see what kind of shots we can take, and we'll get over to start editing here in just a second. And one thing I am doing with this is I'm using the back edge of the detective's office as the framing, so I don't have any of the back area in the shot, and kind of this front edge here, so that way it's just kind of creating that framing area. Now one thing you might notice is I did take out a tree that's normally in the shot, but because of the angle that I'm shooting from, you actually won't be able to see that that's open there or anything. So we should be good with that. So, and for this I am shooting with an f/20. And having to compensate accordingly with the shutter speed and everything like that. So let's just make sure framing looks okay and lighting. Okay, so I think that should work. It's not too complicated of a shot today. Let me double check one thing here. So one thing I did do is I have some of the LED lights that I've used before, and I've added them inside. I have one above the minifigure here, one in the window, but those still are a little bit dark, but it's better than how dark it was without the lights. And then I also put one inside the barbershop here, and that way in the final shot it's just a little bit more lit up, and it doesn't look just as a dark empty area and stuff. So with that, let's go ahead and switch over and see if we can start doing our editing. Okay, so we're back over at the computer here, and we will start getting everything pulled open. And let's switch to Photoshop here. Okay. So here we go, opening up here in Camera Raw, and here's our shot. So it's a little bit on the darker side, just because what we want to do is, you know, kids are going to be going trick-or-treating, stuff like that, more towards nighttime, so we don't want it like super bright, like it's in the middle of the daytime and everything. But I am going to bring up the exposure just a little bit, just to get just a little bit of lighting in there. I'm going to pull back the highlights, pull up the shadows. Actually, let's go ahead and pull this up just a little bit more than what we had. Not too far. Don't want to get any kind of clipping and stuff like that going on. What I am going to do is use the gradient filter, and we're going to come in and add this in. And with that gradient filter, we're going to bring the exposure down just a bit. And let's also add just a little bit from the bottom here. So that should be okay. Okay, so let's double check, make sure here that there's, we've got a little bit of element here. And I'm just controlling the brush size by holding down the control key and going from side to side. Get rid of that. Get rid of a little bit of the scratches on here. Okay. Let's go ahead and open this up here. Now with this, what I want to do is I want to add in some lighting effects and everything. So with this being more at night, maybe these lights here would be on. So there's a couple different ways we can do that. We can go in and simply add in a new layer. We'll just call this lights. And what we can do is just kind of create a selection all the way down here. We want to kind of control and think about where that lighting might fall. So what I'm doing is just creating a selection where I don't want this new lighting element that we're going to do to appear. Now I could go ahead and create the lighting effect and then go in and just mask it out, but I just want to go ahead and get some of it hidden as of right now, and then we can tweak it a little bit if we want to in just a moment. And what I'm doing is trying to just envision where some of the, as the lights are coming down, what items they might be intersecting with and everything. Actually, we'll change that just a little bit. There we go. And right now I'm going to just go in and select a brush that's soft. And let's use a nice yellow, very warm color. And go ahead and set this to overlay. A little bit larger with the brush. Kind of like that. And we're going to go in and just blur this out just a bit. I'm going to add in another layer, and let's do overlay with this. Go with a smaller brush size. I wonder if we, let's see. Maybe, yeah, let's go ahead and switch that from overlay to, for the main lights, rather than it being an overlay for those. I'm going to set that to hard light, give it a little bit more of an effect, and I'm going to do one more, with this one being overlay, but much smaller brush size here. Just kind of marking out kind of where the light bulbs, if they were in there, where the actual light would be coming from. Now I do want to blur that. Go ahead and do that. We're going to mask the glow coming down. Just add this in just a little bit. Now, one area that we do need kind of masked out would be under this awning. Okay. So that's with that back on. I turn it back off. Let's go ahead. And add it full strength back in here. Just trying to imagine or envision where that light might actually fall from that light coming down, you know, hitting this back kind of alleyway, maybe right on top of these figures there. Okay. And now what I want to do is I'm going to use the pen tool. And one of the things I always envisioned this kind of pool hall effect having is kind of a neon type of effect. So with this, I actually want to create a path shape. I don't want to create a vector shape. So I'm just going to kind of draw right around the edges behind, or where it might be behind, look like it's coming behind the letters here. And I'm just doing this. I don't quite know how it's going to turn out and stuff. So a lot of times as I'm going through and I'm working on the images, what happens is I'll wind up thinking like, okay, oh, what would happen if I do this? And I think about that stuff as I'm working on other parts of the image and everything. So the one thing with this though is I've thought about this before. I've never actually really tried it, so I don't know how it's going to really look. And what I'm essentially going to wind up doing is creating this path, and we're going to apply a stroke to the path and apply a layer of effect similar to basically just like we do with the lightsabers and stuff like that in other shots, where it's just going to have like an outer glow and everything. So go ahead with that. And in my paths palette now I have this work path, and I'm going to double click and name it. That way that sign that is still there if I go back in later. Now with that selected, what I'm going to need to do, let's go ahead, group this. And I'm going to create a new layer, and this is going to be for that effect. And I'm going to need to set my brush size to what I want, or how thick I want that to be. So I'm going to actually go pretty thin, right about a 3 probably. Yeah. And what I want to go ahead and do is on the paths palette, I'm going to click on stroke path, and this is going to come up and it's going to use the brush settings that I used, or that I just set up and everything. So I could select on pencil, brush, eraser, all sorts of different items, but for this I'm going to use brush. And you want to make sure that you get the brush size set before you open this up, because if you have a really large brush or anything like that, it's going to use that brush settings. It's whatever's the settings currently applied to that tool. And we're going to try this without the simulate pressure. Simulate pressure is like if I was doing this with a pen on a piece of paper. You know, when you first start, it has a thinner effect, and then it goes thicker. So here I want to have more of a uniform style, I believe. And let's go ahead and do that. And as you can see, it's added in a stroke all around the pool letters. And what I want to do is do an outer glow. Got to bring that size down. We're going to bring the spread up. And with that, let's see if I bring down. Actually set a color overlay here. Go with white. Drop the opacity down on that just a little bit. So I brought the fill opacity, so whatever color I painted with, it doesn't matter, that's going away. And doing a white color overlay, bring that down to about 70, well, I have it set at 72%, we can easily just do that at 70. We'll hit OK. Now let's blur this out just a little bit and see what happens. We are going to have to go back in and readjust, because we're blurring this, we're going to have to go back in and readjust some of those settings that we just did, especially the spread. We'll have to bring that down. Click OK. Oops. And we'll go into outer glow. Just bring that spread size down just a bit. Okay. Now with this sign, I do know that on the back side of the sign, there's some lettering. So we're going to just go in with our brush tool. And just kind of create where that might come out at. The other thing we want to do is just kind of add in and let's go ahead and use the pen tool there. Thought maybe I might be able to freehand that. Okay. So we're going to stroke that path. Okay. See, right now I want to crop just a little bit out of this shot. Okay, so I think that's looking pretty good here. Let's see. Now with this, because if you notice with the pool hall, I didn't spend too much time making sure it was very precise. And I did that because I knew just by working on it, I was going to need to blur it out some more for the background. Now to do that, what I'm actually going to do is take all the file layers that I have right now and create a smart object off of that. And it's going to take all those and make it look like it's just one layer. If I double click on it, I can go back in and modify it. But I'm doing this because what I want to do is come up to Filter and go to Blur Gallery, and let's see, I think we'll try with the Tilt Shift blur. I just kind of want to bring what I'm doing is just making it so that it blurs out more than what it did before. So I'm just setting it out so everything between these lines here, actually I don't know if you guys can see that, it might not. So everything to the top of this line here and the bottom of this line out here is where the actual blur will start taking effect. So what I want to do is I really kind of want that back area to blur out some. So we're just gonna really kind of push that blur up there. Okay, so go ahead and click OK. I'm just cropping it just a little bit because I applied that blur right up at the top. It brought it down and made it just a little bit transparent. So I'm just readjusting that crop just a little bit. And as you can see now, the pool hall has more of that outer effect going on, and so that's why I knew I wasn't going to have to be super precise with what was going on there in the shot, or with the selections and stuff like that, because I was going to be applying that effect. Let's see. I'm going to see about adding in a photo filter. Just want to see about getting this a little bit warmer. No, that's not really... Let's go ahead and go in with our color lookup, similar to what we did last week. And maybe with our fall colors. Yeah. So it's looking a little bit better. I'm wondering if we have... See if we can add in, see what happens when we add this in here. just going to bring this up just to make it look like a little bit of lighting. Maybe like a street light or something like that coming from the top. Now with that, I'm going to go back in and go real quick back to the camera raw settings. Just going to bring up some of the settings here. And one thing I also noticed was that I hadn't applied my sharpening in my shot. I also want to bring in the noise reduction. Okay. And we're applying this all the way back into our composite that we just did. So what I did was, because a few steps ago we took all those layers and made them into a smart object, it still allowed me to go back in and make modifications to everything if I needed to. So here I went in and made those corrections. And that was just a moment ago. And this is with the new I just lost those changes here. Bring that up again. Okay. And actually, let's do that. Click OK. Save that again. So this was before, and then this was after doing the modification. It's giving some better detail going on in their face, and I just think it's going to help the shot out just a little bit. And with that going on, let's see. Let's add in a layer, and we're going to use a gray here. And I'm just going to come in and do a gradient just a little bit off into this back corner here. Not too much. Set this to multiply. Maybe right up off the top up here. And there we go. I think that's going to be it for this one. It's a really pretty simple shot that we did this week. Let me go ahead and switch over here so you guys can see it unobstructed. Not too much going on. Did add in the lighting and stuff like that. So Hopefully this works out for you guys, and you guys found it helpful and everything. So, I just wanted to comment back to what was talked about at the beginning of the video. I am looking at creating some new content for you guys, and it's some standalone stuff that's not presented as part of the BricksDaily Live, but it is going to be available to all the BricksDaily subscribers and everything. So, but what I want to know is what kind of stuff you guys want to know. Do you want to know more about, say, setup or lighting? Is it even where to get figures at? Or do you want to know more about how to do the post processing? Or even taking your photos to an additional level, adding in other things, or maybe even adding in a little bit of motion and stuff. So let me know in the comments below. I really want to make sure that this is the kind of material you guys want to be able to view. And like and subscribe, and also follow us on BricksDaily.com and on our Facebook page, facebook.com/BricksDaily. And make sure that you like and subscribe this video, and that way you'll be notified when new videos come out. We try to do this once a week and everything. So while I'm in Texas, I hope you guys have a good week and that you found it helpful. Thanks, and we'll see you next week.